it's easy to get gaslit into that, because there was times where it's like, okay, I'm hanging out with this, for example, like you're in that like yoga community and everyone's super nice, but it's like you try to start drawing those boundaries, and it's like, oh, yeah, Rich, one of those hardcore military guys, big bad mean Navy SEAL, doesn't let his poor little wife do anything, and again, like, I don't want to have to be a dictator in relationships, and that's not my leadership style. Is I'm more of the line of, I'm going to tell you what needs to be done, or whatever, and then you have the decision to do that or not. And a lot of times I'll give. I was telling this with one of my buddies down in Brazil, because he was going through this stuff with his girlfriend.
Let me just stop you on that story for a second. I just want to correct
Yeah.
you on something. So this is kind of my wheelhouse for those of you that are new to the channel watching this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're to ask your woman to do something, right? The way that you got to look at it as a guy is you've got to look at it as she has three options. It's, she executes, so you ask her to do something and she executes it. She's confused and she needs clarity. Hey, Rich, I'm not sure what you mean by this. Do you want me to do A, B, and C? So then she comes to you for clarity. Or three, it's she has a better way to do it and she comes to you with a different solution. That's really it. It's not like you don't have the option not to do it. Like if you're going to have responsibility to a family, if you're going to have a responsibility to protect a woman, because let's be honest, I mean, if there's a bang in the night, there's a big bang downstairs and you're in bed with your wife, your girlfriend, your woman, whatever, do you just nudge her and say, you go get this one, babe, because you're a feminist? She's going to expect you to leap out of bed, grab a weapon, and go do what you're supposed to do as a guy, because you're the protector. Men and women are not the same. We're not, the way that you look at that angle, as far as like, I'm going to give you the option, you have to take that away. And you actually have to say to her, it needs to be done. And if you're not going to do it, you have to come back with either I'm confused and look for clarity, or I have a better solution. Why don't we try this?
Yeah, great point. And I'll explain on that a little bit, because I think I said what I said, but in my thoughts, some of the things that were happening were, it wasn't I said to begin with, it was I was actually told, right? Oh, hey, I spoke with my sister. We decided that we were going to try to go do this. And now something was already put in motion. Conversations were had and something was put in motion. And then you have to now come in and put the squash on it and be the asshole who now, oh, everyone already agreed on it and everyone's already planning on this. And now you come in and you're the one who stopped it. You know what I mean? And I did, like, that happened the first time there was one of these trips, and it was a weekend trip to Canada with her sister. Then it went to a trip with a couple of her girlfriends to this island off of Georgia to go camping. Then it went to a 10-day trip to Colorado for like a yoga trainer experience. Then it went to, we're going to go to Central America and go do this thing for 2 weeks with a couple of these friends. And I said, at that point, I was like, no.
That's not a wife though, Rich. Like, that's not what a wife does.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
totally.
Like, women with boyfriends or with husbands don't go away for weekends to Vegas or whatever with their girlfriends. They just don't. Yeah. And if they want to do it, then you just say, okay, fine. I don't date women like that.
Yep.
Right. I mean, like, you have to like kind of quash it early on. Like, you can't let it get to a marriage, sort of scenario. So if it's like, if you're dating her and she's like, hey, I'm going to go to my Vegas girlfriend's weekend, quarterly sort of thing. And it's like, okay, well, I don't date women like that. Right.
Yeah.
It's, just as simple as that. And then it's a disqualification. So you don't have to deal with that later on down the road. So you're ending up in a scenario where it's like you're married for a while. And like, this is the fourth trip in like 3 months or something like that, where she's going away with her girlfriends. Cause like, I mean, for those of you guys watching, that I have a McLaren, if you've watched for a while. I wouldn't park my car in a shitty neighborhood, leave it unlocked and throw the keys in the seat and just walk away from it and hope for the best. It's the same thing with your woman, right? You don't let her get into a scenario where she could potentially betray you, if you know what I'm saying. Like, men cheat, women betray, right? Like, there's a difference.
So that's essentially, you say that men cheat, women betray. So let me go one more step with this. And that's what happened. So they wanted to do the trip to Central America, and I said, no, you guys don't know about leaving the country. Like Mexico's super dangerous. You guys aren't going, especially without having one of us go with you. And they're like, oh, what? You don't think we can do it? Like we're strong, independent women, blah blah blah. I'm like, I get it, but no, you're not going there. You're not going for freaking 2 weeks down there.
Yeah.
And that's like, enough is enough. And I drew the line on it and I squashed it.
Yeah.
So after that, they all got really upset with me because I was like,
you're the big bad Navy SEAL guy.
I'm now the big bad Navy
Controller,
SEAL who's
yeah.
the controlling husband, right? So then what happens is she opens up credit cards behind my back and opens up a bank account behind my back and starts planning a month-long trip to Thailand without me knowing. And about 2 weeks prior to her leaving, she tells me that that she's going to Thailand for 2 weeks to go, or for a month. 2 weeks prior to her leaving, she tells me, and I'm like, well, with what? You know what I mean? And oh, well, don't worry about it because I have my own bank account and credit card, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, no, you don't have your own because we're married. So anything that you owe on a credit card, if you don't pay it, I have to pay it, right? If your bank account gets stolen or your credit card gets stolen in Thailand, guess who they're going to come after? Like, because we're married, that's how that works, you know. And
Was she generating income in the household, or was it mostly you?
just a little bit. You know, she's a yoga teacher, so she taught like 2 or 3 times a week, and she would go do some day jobs here and there.
So it was like the Eddie Murphy stand-up. It's like, here, Rich, here's $80 because I want to do my share.
Yeah, kind of like that, exactly.
Okay.
So at that point, you know, the betrayal had come in to where
Strong and independent. Sorry.
Yeah, like, so, but this is the thing, like little stuff like this. Hey, there's this app or this website where you can go on and order meals, and they send you a meal with all the ingredients and the instructions, and it shows up your door. It's on like a block of, you know, ice.
Block of ice. It's like a chef's plate. You kind of make it and follow the instructions.
You just make it. She's like, hey, I think it would be really cool for us to cook together. Okay, yeah, you know, maybe that would be a good thing. So we do like 3 dinners together in the kitchen. And then it's like, hey, I got to go teach tonight, but I ordered that home chef. So you can fix yourself dinner. There's stuff here, et cetera, et cetera. And she kept dropping this little quote where she would say like, I'm not always going to be here to feed you. You got to learn how to cook. You know what I mean? Like, you can't always count on me to make your meal. There might become times where I'm not going to be here that you need to make the meal.
Did you forget that you would eat like MREs out of a pouch? Like, you know, you could feed yourself.
Yeah, I just eat a freaking peanut butter jelly sandwich or a salad or whatever. But do you see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
She knew in her head that she was going to be going, and she was setting up for this trip for a month. So she was bringing this food in. Let's do a couple meals together. Hey, why don't you do this on your own? I'm not always going to be here to cook for you. Oh, by the way, I'm leaving for a month. You know what I mean? So it was, at this point, it was kind of like it clicked. And like all of a sudden, when she told me that, I kind of rewound all these conversations and things that had transpired. And it was like, if I had said no to Mexico for a 2-week trip, what in the world makes you think that going to Thailand for a month would be better? And that's where I just said, hey, you're going to do whatever you're going to do, but just understand I'm going to make decisions based on what you decide.
Did you guys have any kids?
No.
Okay, so I mean, like, you got out of that pretty much scot-free, with the
So
exception of wasting your time.
At that point, that's where I'm kind of saying, it was like, I'm not going to tell you no because I know you're already doing things to deceive me, and I basically gave the rope.
Yeah.
And I said, if you're going to go, if you're going to go, because if you don't go, you're going to do something like this again in some other way. And so let's see what you do. I'm saying I think this is a bad idea, and I would not like you to go. I want you to stay here. I want you to cancel those credit cards.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let you do what you want to do.
Have you read my book yet, Rich?
To go, and that's where I was like, all right, fine. That's cool. I'm getting divorced because I'm not going to live in a relationship like this, because this isn't a functional, healthy relationship.
No, it's not. It's not conducive at all. Have you read my book?
Not yet.
So I talk about betatization by 1,000 concessions. I mean, if you have long drives, grab the audio version. It's like a 4.5 hour listen. So I mean, you can rip through it pretty quick. But I talk about betatization through 1,000 concessions in it, and
Hmm.
basically, like it starts with something simple like, "Hey, Rich, let's go vegan together," or "Let's go and do this retreat together," or "Put your white socks in a white hamper and your dark socks in a dark hamper." Then it turns into something else, and then it turns into basically what you ended up with. And it's not like any one thing breaks the camel's back. It's just
Yeah.
a sequence of a whole bunch of concessions that you make. Then you get married, then you make a whole bunch more concessions, and it's like, you get to the point where it's like, i've I've got all the responsibility here as the man in the house, as what should be the head of the household, as the protector. I mean, fuck, your Navy SEALs, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And I have no authority at all. And it's why you really have to, early on at the start of the relationship, set the frame to who's going to be in whose frame. And she needs to be in your frame, just for clarity, for those that are wondering. Because then you never get to the point where she's taking all these trips and I don't need no man and I'm not going to come to you to this, and support you, at this gala at Mar-a-Lago and all that stuff.